We're back.
We're back.
And we're tired.
So tired. I don't know why. No, we do know why.
Yeah.
Oh, here.
So we're back. How are you doing? You set up?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good.
Yes.
We're both tired.
Yeah.
Celine texted me. Oh, welcome to episode 7 of
As
Woo. As
You.
Once.
Yes.
With
Celine.
and Jeremiah.
Wow, that was really powerful.
Thank you. Feeling good today, but feeling tired. Mm-hmm. You're just like, I'm tired.
I'm just tired. I don't know if it's work, taking time off, and then like going back to a really busy schedule, or if it's the spring equinox, which is happening tomorrow.
Right. And I want to talk about this.
Yeah. Well, it's the end, it's the transition of the season. So you're moving out of the cold darkness of winter and into spring. And spring is more of a like dynamic. Things are growing, things are moving, things are waking up. And I think the change from the winter to the spring equinox is always tough. Plus, there's also daylight savings.
Yeah.
So the energy that surrounds spring it's a little bit more like turbulent, I think, usually.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because things are like happening.
They're like blossoming.
Popping.
They're coming up and like it's windier. It's like it's a more livery time as Chinese medicine. Livery. Liver is the springtime. So it's a transition. It's moving. It's like can be very frustrating. And like I think that energy in conjunction with Mercury being in a retrograde. And it's the beginning of Aries season. So, and Aries is like intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all know about that.
So I think all that's making us tired, right?
That's a really interesting.
Doesn't that resonate with you?
Yeah. It's a funny mix. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is like all the things are starting to shake up and.
It's like dusting off, like shaking your bones awake.
Right. And we live in New York, so
Ugh.
there's actual seasons as opposed to
I know, that's actually true.
Los Angeles, which is where I was last week.
Oh my gosh.
But it was really cold.
Did you drink so many smoothies?
No, I did not eat well at all.
That's surprising.
Yeah, I did not eat well. Yeah, both of us were on little
sojourns.
We went on like little vacations.
Yeah, I was in Miami. Delightful weather. Not as I wanted to get a slight sunburn. It didn't happen.
Same with me.
Really? I like kind of didn't wear sunscreen as much as I should have because I was like, roll the dice.
Yeah. Well, I was like, bring the sun. Just
Nothing
freaking
happened.
inject it into my heart.
Nothing happened to me.
Yeah. Same thing. We went to LA and then we stayed with some friends. We got a house in Palm Springs for a couple days.
Oh my gosh. I saw pics of that.
Yeah, which was
it
amazing.
Looks really cool.
But Palm Springs was like, usually seasonally it's like 80 to 90 degrees, and it was like in the 70s.
Really?
Yeah, which I'm not complaining. It was still beautiful,
yeah.
but it was like, it was surprising. And LA was like cloudy and rainy. I mean, if anyone's listening from LA, like the winter of 2019 has been
rain, right?
Weird.
Yeah, they've had so much rain, I think.
So, the earth is fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so coming back, we both talked about how we didn't feel as restored as we had hoped and anticipated.
Yeah, I had a great time. I
Same.
love my friends out there. If any of you are listening, I love you guys. But it wasn't restorative. Mm-hmm. And I think Melissa and I need that.
Yeah, I think that maybe the idea is to go to a cabin in the woods, like alone. Like I think being around people isn't really the restorative move anymore.
So interesting.
I know, but I think that's true though.
No, I
right?
think you're right. And it was so funny because you had said, when you were, before you went to Miami, you were like envisioning that you were going to have a lot of alone time.
Yeah. I didn't. Not in a way that was bad.
Right.
It just wasn't. I don't know. I think maybe you and I are both in places where to restore really means to regroup and like be silent to kind of re-energize. And maybe that happens in your 30s, mid 30s or something. Because when you're younger, I don't know.
Yeah. How did you feel when you were younger? Because I can talk about my experience, but I'm curious about your experience.
I mean, I've always been kind of a lone little restore person.
Would you say you're more of an introvert than an extrovert?
No. I think I'm kind of both
Yeah.
in the right setting. Mm-hmm. But I do think that probably since doing acupuncture, working with people the last like 5 years, when I need to like unplug, that has to happen alone for me.
Yeah.
I don't get rejuvenated. So, I don't know. When we all went away last summer to that house, though I guess I did spend a lot of time alone.
Well, it's a good balance. So,
Yeah.
so Celine and I went upstate with a few friends it's a very New York thing to do.
Yeah, it's
You
very
get the
posh,
Airbnb
very
for the
chic.
weekend, and well, no. What's funny is this is the irony of vacation living in New York. It's cheaper
To do that.
usually to literally buy a plane ticket, go somewhere else, than to live in New York. From my experience.
Well, probably, yeah. To,
It's
like, do
kind of
stuff.
nutty.
I know. New York is not like the rest of the world.
No,
So,
some places.
yeah, I guess. I feel like you kind of were more of a restorer around friends. I can see that, or I might be wrong.
I used to be much more on the extroverted, I won't even say extroverted. It's just I used to get juiced up more from being around people.
Yeah.
And I was like, I loved like talking about. I still do.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
would
almost
say
like
so.
this podcast is like the perfect mix where I get to like talk, but it's like just with you, and it's like quiet. I don't have to deal with anyone else.
Yeah.
It's like the perfect mix for me. Like I'm juicing myself up, but it's like just
It's
me and
just-
Celine.
yeah,
And
we're
like
just sitting in
Celine's
a
just
room.
fucking chill. And it's one of those things where as I started to, I mention it again and again, but when I started to meditate, and even before that, when I started to just become more energetically sensitive, I started feeling other people's energy more intensely.
Yeah.
And being able to delineate between my energy and someone else's energy, and that's related to the courting stuff we were talking about and the aura
Yeah.
stuff, and so when that happened, and even if pretty recently, it was really hard because I think I'd mentioned this in the first or second episodes where when I started meditating and you become sensitive when you're living in New York. It's like wah, 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 wah,
Right.
like that's what you're getting from everywhere, and you're like,
I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a powerful thing to become more sensitive, but you also have to manage that, and I think some people are less aware of how they vibrate to other people.
Yeah, I think a lot of people.
Yeah. Myself included. I mean,
Yeah. Though I know when I'm in a bad mood, I'm like a little monster baby to be around. I'm not good at. I've never been good at faking it when I'm really like annoyed.
yeah.
Yeah. I can fake it pretty well on other things, but
Yeah, it's an interesting thing.
yeah, I definitely, if I'm not in a great space, I'm not like, yes, let's all go hang out, because I'm just going to be like a Debbie Downer.
Yeah. You're so good with boundaries.
Well, sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm good at saying no to stuff. Like, I don't
I
care.
think that's boundaries.
Like, I don't really have I'm not like super FOMO.
Yeah.
Only a couple times.
I'm a Libra rising, so I just accommodate people all the time to the detriment of my own well-being. But it's taken me my whole lifetime to start. I mean, I'm not that extreme, but there are a lot of times where I'm like, yeah.
Sure.
And then, like, afterwards, I'm just like this empty shell.
God.
Or I'm, like, living other people's lives, you know? Like, I'm helping other people and not helping myself.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's tough to set that boundary when you are someone who is empathetic and you want to help people, and learning that it's a really fine balance of being there and supportive and giving them what they need, but then also taking a step back and saying, hold on a second. Is this actually nourishing for me too, or am I just giving? Mm-hmm. And that balance, I think you kind of learn that throughout your whole life.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So it is something that I'm really focused on this year for that one.
What?
To just disconnect from people that I've maybe historically given a lot to.
Yep.
Because I'm super loyal.
Yep.
But then realizing, maybe that's not actually a really beneficial relationship because I'm just giving.
Yep.
Right?
I totally feel that.
Oh my God, talking about that made my palms sweat.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I feel like it's hard for me to do that because I care so much about people and my friends and how they're doing. But I'm like, at the same time.
You're like in my head.
I know. But I just, like I have some relationships that I've really tried to get away from the last couple of months because they're just not, it doesn't benefit me. Not in a selfish way, but just in a way of like, I'm kind of just taking care of you. And it just feels sticky. It feels sticky. Because in a way, it's an abandonment. And that's tough for me. Right? Do you have that?
It's tough for you to, like, quote, abandon other people, even though you're really not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's definitely hard for me. The whole time you were talking, I was like, well, that's one of the reasons why I feel like we're doing this podcast, at least for me, is I have a huge group of friends.
You do. This is true.
And I love all of them so much. And everyone has their own vibe, and some people are more takers, some people are more givers. Sometimes it's more mutual, sometimes it's less mutual. I think for me, it's been trying to figure out, like, where I'm at, and kind of why I wanted to talk about boundaries. And this is all related to yin and yang and, like, masculine, feminine energy and all this stuff where there's, like, the receptivity and then also the giving. And but
did you lose it?
I lost it. See, I'm tired today. No, so I think it's been a challenge because on the one hand, I know that I need to take care of myself.
Sure. And
the only way, a huge lesson for me was the only way I could actually, I'm a giver. It's another thing with Libra rising signs is we love giving. We love giving ourselves.
Yeah.
And a huge lesson that I have learned, and I'm probably going to learn for the rest of my life, just more and more deeply, is the only true way to give is to receive. Like, you can't give and just become a shell of a human.
Right.
To really honestly give, you have to be filled up. Otherwise, you're just giving like an empty shell of yourself. And I've felt over the last few years like this emptiness happen where it's like, I'm just like, I can't give anymore. I need to fill myself up.
See, I think like that's what I'm learning, how to initially start the giving and the taking of the relationship. So like I think if you set a parameter and a dynamic between you and the other person of like, hey, I'm going to give and I'm going to help you, but then you also have to be like vocal about what you need. And that's what I'm learning how to do. To be vocal about what you need. To communicate, like, not just ask, like, oh, how's XYZ going? Like, what do you need? Da-da-da. Like, then to be like, you know what? I have been doing this. I need some help here. I need this. And so, like, creating a two-way street.
Yep.
And I kind of feel like that's the way to, I don't know. That seems like that's the way you can give and then receive, because it makes the other person be like also accountable and aware of you and their life. Because I sometimes think people are just, they don't really care, or I don't know.
I know exactly
You know
what you're
what I
talking
mean?
about.
I don't know how to explain that.
No, 100%. For me, this is totally related to money. Like a
Yeah.
billion %. I totally know what you're saying. I'm just like rendered speechless.
Really?
Yeah, I don't even know where to go.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's what has been happening with my boundaries. Not that I don't have any. I think I have good boundaries. But I think when it comes to an emotional, spiritual connection with someone, I sometimes don't make my space and my presence like felt in their life in a way that I communicate well enough. Is that true? I don't know.
I think it's a huge thing, particularly for women, to
Yeah.
say, like, I need this.
Right.
I'm
right.
done fucking giving.
Right.
You know, like,
I know. This could also just be me being, right, a caregiver.
Yeah, totally. And like when I was doing, you know, that money course with Tosha, you know, it's usually, she actually came to the city. I'll do a little side note. She came to the city a few years ago, and my mom and I went to see her. She gave a class. The room,
It was all women.
all women. I was the
Also.
only guy. And so, like, even in this class, she's like, probably most of you are women. And it's like you're trained to give. You're
Yeah.
not trained to receive. And it's so important to receive. All of this is
Right.
going back to this concept of the patriarchy is dead.
Right.
Femininity is taking over. We need to receive. Take care of yourself. Say what the fuck you need, because that is the only way you're actually going to be able to give. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yo?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'm talking to myself now, because I have to do the exact same thing. And I think another big part of this is the two-way street. In Western culture. I think it's so capitalistic and transactional. It's like, I give you, you give me, right? Like,
Right.
you're almost like keeping tallies. Like, oh, I did this favor and I did this favor.
Yeah.
And like, they're not giving the favors back to me. And I think a more, you know, and that's one way of relating, but I think it's limited in a lot of ways. And a more kind of deep, emotional, spiritual, and most importantly, loving way is just think about love.
Yeah.
Like a loving relationship, it's not transactional, you know?
No.
I mean, yes, you're giving
Sometimes-
energy back and
sometimes,
forth, but
yeah.
it's not like, and some people do this where it's like, I wash the dishes, you do the blah, blah, blah. But it comes from an understanding of like, we're both going to do our part.
Right.
And that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I think the transactional nature of a relationship has its space and its time and its like appropriate place. But I think in more of the one-on-one, like friends, family, you know, relationships, like I think that that nature doesn't really have a place there, or not anymore.
The transactional kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it really works.
Yeah.
Because then one person kind of feels like crummy
Yeah.
or empty.
Totally. And I think as you become more woo, you become very aware of that.
Yeah.
Whether you're like the one who's taking too much or giving too much.
Well, the worst is when you're like super woo woo and then you know you're doing it and you keep doing it. That's me sometimes.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. Being aware of a cycle of how you're being, but you're like, man, I just keep doing this. Have you never had this happen? No, I guess maybe.
Yeah, no, of course I have,
Yeah.
but in what way? In how so?
In more of like a giving, and like the
Yes.
other person's just like, thanks.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, but
Yeah.
what? But I didn't set up that interaction. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tied to worthiness. It's tied to like your own.
Worthiness. I wish when we were little, we would have always throughout our entire childhood, a class or like someone would come in and just like yell, "You're super worthy," the whole time. And it would just fix so much of our issues, I think.
God.
Imagine.
Like, everyone is worthy.
Like a little worthy
Everyone
teacher.
is worthy. Everyone
really
is worthy.
Comforting man or woman.
We're doing it.
Yeah.
You're worthy.
Yeah. Everybody's worthy.
You're worthy. If you're listening to this, even if you're not listening to this, if you're on this planet, you're worthy.
Yeah.
That's why you're here.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know.
I just got the chills, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
That's because we're so tired.
I'm also like, I think for a while, you know, again, for me at least, it's like learning that I'm worthy. And it's coming out in deep ways of like really asking for help in ways that are not comfortable for me.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of strength, I'm realizing, to be that vulnerable.
Yeah. Being vulnerable is incredibly terrifying.
Yeah. You know Brene Brown?
No.
Ooh.
Renee or Brene?
Brene.
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 That's a cool name.
Oh, you gotta, okay.
Brene Brown?
So anyone who has... Celine, you call yourself woo-woo.
Oh my God,
Please.
tell me.
No,
Who's
she's...
Brene?
So she's... I'm sure a lot of people listening right now are like, how does Celine do that?
Really?
Yeah, she's huge. So Brene Brown is a psychologist. She did a massive TED Talk. I don't even know, maybe in like 2012. It was a few years ago.
Get out of here.
And she just like exploded because the whole TED Talk was about, she was doing a whole research experiment about shame. And I don't know the details of the study, but she basically realized like we have an epidemic of people who don't know how to feel vulnerable.
Oh, well.
And that vulnerability is in our society seen as, you know, weak.
Yeah, for sure.
And, you know, you can't ask other people for help and all this shit. And it's tied to worthiness. It's tied to like all these things.
I'm going to listen to that later.
Yeah. For anyone listening, like, and you don't know who Brene Brown is.
Okay, that's a little shameful.
I was about to say that was really shamey. I'm sorry. That came off weird.
How do I not know who that is? Brene Brown.
Brene. B-R-E-N-E. Brown. B-R-O-W-N. Sorry, I
Was she
didn't
like
mean to
older?
shame.
No, I'm kidding. It's fine. I'm not like.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, like, it's okay.
I love everyone. I'm just human.
It's fine.
We're losing our minds. Spring's coming.
Oh my! Spring is coming. I'm serious. It's a crazy time.
So Google Brene Brown.
Yeah.
TED. She's wonderful. She's written a bunch of books, and there's just so much there. I think I'll say the one takeaway from her work that I really resonated with was this idea of being vulnerable. What that does is it opens you, and so, you know, with a lot of people, we numb ourselves. Mm-hmm. And we try to kind of shut off certain aspects of our emotional spectrum in order to like get through the day. But the thing is, and this is the key, is you can't selectively numb things. You can't be like, I'm going to be numb in this area, but like I want to be happy. It's like you need to be sad in order to be happy. You need to be vulnerable in order to
It's
receive
like the yin
or feel
and the yang.
100%.
Yeah.
That dynamic.
Yeah. Well, I think we're all really good at compartmentalizing. Some better than others. But, you know, I think a lot of it is because we don't know how to do stuff. For example, I was watching the new season of Queer Eye. What a joy.
Yes.
What
I'm so
joy.
glad you're talking about this.
Yeah.
Everyone watch Queer Eye.
Oh, God.
Everyone.
So good. And not ruining anything, but, you know, one of the later episodes, which was like so fantastic, is a dad, and he like has 2 young kids, and he's lost the mom. She died a couple of years ago. She had cancer.
Seen this one yet. We haven't seen this one.
I'm not. It's that it's
okay,
fine.
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not like you're not like what.
Don't ruin it.
But
Did they make his life better?
They made his life better. But there's one part where Jonathan Van Ness is talking with him.
He's
and
a fucking unicorn.
He's so great, and talking about grief and how we all kind of want to put it in a box, wrap it up, and put it on a table and say, okay, that's where that goes, right? Like, but the thing with like especially grief and losing people, it's like there's no book, there's nothing like here's how you manage that. And I think with like a lot of our complex emotions like grief, shame, trauma, whatever it is, as a society we've just devalued those feelings to make it so when you have that it's like, well, I don't know, you figure that out, it doesn't matter. We care more about attaining things and money and like visual like pleasures versus the stuff that really makes us tick. So
and feel.
And so it's like it's just so nice to have this like show that is all about feeling, and like it's like gay men helping straight men, queer women, gay, like whatever, and everybody's just like, it brings me so much joy. I love the show.
So much joy.
It's in like a lot of people like it.
Oh my God, Melissa and I love it. Literally last night we just finished the 5th episode.
Which one is that?
The young black queer woman.
Oh my God, Black Girl
Lesbian.
Magic.
Black Girl Magic,
That's what the episode's called.
And,
oh God, what a cry fest.
I mean, all of them.
I know.
And we, like, at the end of it, Melissa and I are, like, trying to, like, save them. So we were, like, looking, like, how many more are left? And we were like, there are only 3 more left. Like, they need to make one every week because it's
You can I've rewatched some of them. And they still are really powerful.
That's a good call.
Because...
I mean, just start back at season 1.
Because it's something that I just don't think we have as an outlet. We've compartmentalized our feelings. And now it's like valuing them. And I'm like, fuck yes.
It is. It's kind of like what I always thought like of Mr. Rogers, where we had talked about this maybe an episode or 2 ago, where I was saying how like I see a lot of stuff and I can literally like a lot of news, just a lot of things out there that's like I look at it and it's poison to me. To me, at least, maybe not for other people.
Right.
And like Queer Eye is the complete opposite.
Oh, no.
It's like fills me up, makes my heart just like sing. I'm just like, humanity is amazing. These men are beautiful, like beyond like all conception, and they're all so different and
so different. But it's like all these people have a commonality of, I think everyone just doesn't feel worthy or love. 2 things. I think you go through all of those episodes. Or just, well, I guess the dad and the grief, but that's also not valuing him. Like he had to take care of his 2 little kids. Oh God, that episode is gonna wreck you, dude.
Oh, I shed tears all the time.
Same.
The whole way through. It's funny because as we were talking about this, the whole time I was like, Queer Eye, Queer Eye. I mean, this is what.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because just like you were saying, it's like they're literally, beyond all of the external stuff, which is incredibly important, but the external reflects the internal, as above, so below. And what they're really doing is they're shifting on the inside the people in such an amazing, beautiful, loving way, where they're saying, you are so worthy. You are so, so, so worthy. You are so beautiful. And they're all so different.
I know.
And it just makes me so... I just like explode with happiness watching that show.
I love all of them. I don't even like really have a favorite.
No, they're amazing, and
I
some of their
love
stories.
Karamo always wears like jackets.
They all look so good.
But they're in like
they're very good looking men.
They are really good looking, but he's always.
Do you
wearing
have a favorite? Are we gonna go there?
Well, I kind of like don't think I have a favorite. Because I think they all serve such a wonderful purpose to... I don't know. I mean,
They're all such unicorns. They really are. No, we don't have to pick favorites. I don't know. That's very patriarchal of me, isn't it?
Well, no. If there's one that you resonate with more all the time, Jonathan?
No, there are little things in each episode.
Yeah, that's
that
what I
really
think.
like. I think
so.
the one guy who I had a little bit more because he's British is Tan.
Tan.
He's a little bit like he's like the opposite. You know, Jonathan's just like, "Wah!"
Yeah.
And like Tan's like more reserved because he's British.
Yeah.
But the thing that I just absolutely loved with him, and I love the show because of this precise reason, is there was an episode in season 2 where I think it was a transgendered,
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're going to say.
woman who wanted, a woman who wanted to transition to a man.
Yep.
And for anyone who hasn't seen this, you have to see this show. It's so good. And they show a surgery footage of this woman who gets
She gets a double mastectomy.
Yeah, double mastectomy. And like she's waking up from the surgery still in like a fog of like God knows what kind of drugs they're pumping into you. And she looks down and she sees they're no longer there, and like this expression of joy and relief and like happiness crosses her face. And like Tan says, like literally at that moment, you know, he's a gay dude. And so, you know, there's a lot of people just kind of lump like, oh, you're gay, you're lesbian, you're queer, you're trans, you're any of those things, LGBTQ, you're all in like this one category. And it's like, well, no, every person's different. And even within that group, people look at other people differently. And Tan always, you know, this is from him, would say how like he kind of didn't understand.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, he wasn't educated. He didn't understand what it meant, and he never knew anybody. And so watching him go through that journey on that
Seeing
episode,
him open in that show, and they like show it, and his openness and vulnerability.
I know.
Vulnerability. These
really
men are
good.
so beautiful because they're so vulnerable.
I hope that nothing bad happens about them.
Please don't even.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say
They've already blessed the world, and they're going to continue to bless the world.
Okay.
We just send them. Let's take 1 minute. Not even a minute, just 2 seconds, and just send them so much love and appreciation.
Such good people. Yep.
Just like shining light from my heart on all 5 of those guys. So amazing. And Netflix. Good job.
And Netflix.
And Dave Collins, the creator. I love the original too.
Oh my God, yeah.
But I feel like particularly now in this era, like that show is literally the perfect example of the remedies that this culture needs to heal.
Yeah. Well, they're bringing in, it's interesting because they're just bringing in like more divine feminine energy, kind of from a masculine.
But they're men!
I know.
It's so cool!
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
I know.
Wonderful. They're like wonderful illustrations of yin and yang.
Yeah.
I love Jonathan, his heels.
Oh my God. Oh God, they're so good.
They're so good.
And his Instagram is really, really positive.
Yeah.
He's always dancing. Like in one of our episodes, he dances every morning with his coffee
There you go.
to set the tone. He has got the good, playful energy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see.
It is nice to see.
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh, queer eye.
Well, do we want to talk about the spring equinox?
Well,
I mean, we did.
we kind of did.
So,
I mean, also, I'll say, though, that there is a full moon happening on the same day.
right. So today is the...
Tuesday.
It's the annoying thing. People are going to hear this and it's going to be past, but
Oh, that's true. Well,
it's March 19th.
right. So on the
2019.
20th is the equinox, so the beginning of spring, happens to fall on a full moon. And so full moons are all about completions. And, depending on if you follow the cycles of the moon, new moons are really where you set the intentions and create the space for them to come in. And then full moons are the manifestation of your kind of intentions and how they've like created and come about in your world. So it's a time to be grateful and appreciative and kind of invite and thank whatever you kind of wanted to come in and let go. It's also a really good time to cleanse crystals. which is super easy. You can either put them on your windowsill and let the moon cleanse, or you can actually leave them outside. Or you can put them in sea salt, no water, just the salt, and submerge them, and that cleanses them too. So, equinox.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's helpful information.
Yeah. If this was pagan times, we'd like have a festival and like light fires.
Every full moon.
Especially at the equinox, the spring equinox.
Right, yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, as someone who's Jewish, the Jewish calendar is actually a lunar calendar.
Really?
So tomorrow night's also Purim.
Is that Halloween? Right? Is that horrible? Does that sound so
No,
ignorant?
it's amazing. No, not at all.
But isn't that what kind of it is,
you
right?
dress up in costumes. Here's a
But why
plus.
do
Here's a
you
plus
do-
for. Wait, hold on.
Okay.
Here's a plus for Judaism. I love this. Judaism is quite a joyful religion, but they literally. It's in the Talmud, I believe. Dad, don't hate me if I get this wrong. But there's somewhere in the Jewish text where it says something along the lines of like it's a mitzvah, like a commandment, a good deed, to get so drunk on Purim that you can't tell the difference between right and wrong.
Oh my God. Really?
So it's all about just like, I mean, it's just like.
But why do you dress up like Halloween? Because you're like, or do you not know the answer to that?
That is a great question.
Okay. I can figure that out.
I think that's more of just a tradition.
Are you doing anything?
Well, so the real kind of like religious aspect is you listen to something called the Megillah, which is the Hebrew Bible. The Old Testament is actually three sections. You have the 5 books of Moses. Mm-hmm. Then you have a section called the Ketuvim, which are like the writings, and that's like additional writings of certain things. I'm pretty sure the Megillah falls under the Ketuvim. I would have to look that up again. And then you have Nevi'im. This is Hebrew, by the way. Nevi'im, which is prophets. So that's like me, Jeremiah, and Daniel, and Isaiah, and like all those guys. So all 3 of those like big texts form the canon of the Old Testament of the.
And so like very religious people will just sit and read them tomorrow?
Yeah, so what you do is you go to your local synagogue, your shul, your temple, if you're more on the Reform side of things.
And they just read it.
Yeah, someone will recite the Megillah. You may have people, there are chapters. I think there's like 10 or 12 chapters, so another person may come up each chapter and recite it. And the fun part is, it's a really great holiday for kids.
Yeah.
The fun part is, so the story, I'll give you a story of why not? Purim is, it's all spring. It's all like works together. Basically, a very, very short version of it is, like a lot of Jewish holidays, the Jews were persecuted, they got saved. So they were persecuted by this guy, Haman. And so while you're reading the Megillah, anytime Haman's name is pronounced, you yell and you boo and you use a noisemaker called a grogger.
Stop.
And it's like, well, that's not the right sound at all. It's like,
I know
it's
the
like
thing you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like a clicky sound. And yeah, and you eat hamantaschen, the triangle cookies with the little like fruit flavoring in the middle, like fruit filling. Okay. And that represents Haman's hat, because Haman wore a triangle hat.
Oh, but he's not a good dude.
He's not a good dude.
Okay.
I don't know why we eat
his hat.
His hat.
Maybe it's like offensive or something in some way.
Maybe. I don't know.
Anyway,
I may listen to the Megillah. I'm sure my sister Jessica will be listening. It'd be nice to go with her, but Melissa's also giving a talk, a design talk.
Oh,
so
wow.
I may do that too. We'll see. I don't know.
Maybe
I'll eat a hamantaschen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Good. I'll light a fire.
But yeah, so just looping back around, like the Jews follow a lunar calendar.
Yeah. Well, so tomorrow's the 20th is a big one. I also think it's the last super moon, which there's been like 15 super moons, I think, this year.
The last one for the year.
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
I think it's also in Aries. So
Aries starts on the 20th.
yeah, so it's
Gotcha.
Aries season. So we're getting
Right.
out of Pisces, which is like this like
Super emotional.
emotional,
watery.
mystic, murky, creative, into Aries, which is like dynamic, fire, boom.
Yeah.
So maybe that's also the fatigue.
Yeah. I
Though
could
you would
see
think
that.
it's the opposite. I would
Well,
think.
the feeling, it's like feeling kind of like watery and
Yeah,
just like it could be exhausting.
yeah.
Okay, so before we go, it's funny because I'm going to edit all that out.
I know. I know.
So before we go, I think we wanted to talk about one more thing. But it's funny because, you know, when Celine and I talk about our episodes, we're always like, okay, we'll talk about this episode.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we'll talk about boundaries the next episode, but it just came
No.
up.
We just did
It was
it.
just like
It was natural. It was a flow.
The flow. It was just like, nope, you're talking about boundaries now.
Yeah.
So the last thing I want to talk about, and I think, I mean, again, all this stuff is so interrelated, but something that's like been really tough to process because I'm vulnerable, and I think a lot of people are having a hard time feeling vulnerable to this, and maybe for some people they're going to be like, this is silly, but for me, it's a big deal, is leaving Neverland.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't watched it, but I've talked to many people about it.
Yeah.
I get the gist. The
So-
brutal gist of that.
Yeah. So Melissa and I watched it last weekend, or last week, and we kind of just like did it back to back and just like ripped the Band-Aid off. I was like, I need to watch this and like just do
Yeah.
it. And I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan.
I know you are. I know.
I was born in 1983. Thriller came out in 82. I literally have home movies of me before I can speak in my diapers dancing to Thriller.
I also had family dance parties to Thriller.
Yeah, everyone did.
I know.
Everyone did.
Yeah.
I highly recommend, if you have watched it and you're probably processing it. The New York Times podcast, The Daily, has a wonderful episode on it, and also they
Oprah.
feature. There's the Oprah interview too.
Oprah does it too. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did she do a podcast episode?
She did like an hour
Yes.
debrief about it or
yes,
something.
we watched that as well.
Oh, you did?
We watched all
Oh
of
my
it.
God, you watched everything.
Yeah. So the Times has a great thing, and then they actually have two great things. They have the Daily, but they also have their pop culture podcast with the same person who's on the Daily. He goes into more depth with his partner, and that podcast is called Still Processing. And that's
a good
like
name.
literally 40 minutes to an hour of just Michael. And yeah, that name is really apropos because
I know, what a good name.
holy shit. After watching this, I was like, it's incredibly well done.
Yeah. Well, the guy took a long, long time. The director, didn't he take... I've read a bunch of articles about this.
Yeah.
He, like, researched and worked on this for, like, many, many years, right? I think.
I don't know.
I think that's what one internet website article told me about it.
Okay, yeah.
They interviewed him.
So as a fan, I was like, you know, I went into this like, this can't be true. It's, you know, I was like towing the line, like it's about money, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're just trying to make money. They're trying to whatever. And like pretty soon after I started watching it, I was like, you do not fucking make this shit up.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it, but from what I've read about it, and I just, you know, I know a lot of times when people come out and are like, you know, I was abused, I was sexually assaulted, and, you know, there's always that, like, well, you're just doing it to get the money. But, you know, as a woman and seeing a lot of times how women are treated when they come out and say, you know what, I was raped by this person, and they, like, go to trial or whatever, and it's never... They never win, right? Because it's always some way to ignore it. So I'm always like, why would someone put their energy and trouble and story out there and know how hard it is, like, to get vindication from it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't. So, I'm
not
sure,
yeah.
I guess it happened. You know, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it, really, because it's so devastating.
Yeah,
right?
I don't even want to get into specifics about it. It's like, watch it if you want to watch it. But I think what I wanted to do was give my woo-woo spin on it.
Okay,
And,
yeah, do
like,
that,
give
do that,
our
do that.
woo-woo spin on it.
Sure.
So for me, what's so brilliant about this documentary is it presents you with Michael in all of, or in a lot of his dimensions, where, and even the two men who are interviewed, they say, like, I loved him.
Yeah.
And he was amazing. I mean, don't even, as a man, like, the
Right.
talent,
As an artist.
he was an alien. He was fucking the best of the best of the best.
Right.
I don't know if anyone will ever even come close. But as a human, he was super generous, super loving, you know, an amazing individual who was very caring and, like, took care of a lot of people and took care of, you know, these men and their families. However,
however.
there was another side of him. And
Right.
that was the side behind closed doors. And that was the side, the shadow side, that didn't come out until now, in a more kind of impactful way. Because this shit isn't new.
No.
And the brilliance of the documentary is that it makes you sit with truth. And truth is not white or black. Not like his song, Black or White. And, okay, I'm going to do a few woo-woo things, but this is the first one.
Okay.
Now, as far as I know, according to this documentary, it's James Safechuck and Wade Robson. Those are the two men. I think James Safechuck was unfortunately the first victim. And that, as far as I know, who knows? Maybe shit happened before. But this happened, it started happening during Michael Jackson's Bad tour.
Okay, so like the mid-'80s.
Yeah, mid-late-ish 80s. I think it was like 87.
Okay.
What's the title of the album?
Bad.
What's the title of his next album?
I don't know.
Dangerous.
Oh.
Listen to the lyrics of Bad. I'm bad, you know it. He's literally telling you.
Yeah.
He's literally confessing.
To being.
Even though you don't process it until now.
Huh.
So it's like, for me, this is like going back to the stuff we were talking about where, like, you'll have a dream or you'll write something free thought. And at the time, it won't make sense.
Right.
Or it'll make sense on one level.
Right.
Give yourself some time, because unfortunately we're living in time, or maybe fortunately, God knows.
Yeah.
You're going to see some different shit. You're going to look at it very differently.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you. I see what you're saying.
And there's another album called Invincible.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think this also could tie back into, I think the last episode we talked about being kind of a conscious participant in your life, circumstances.
Yep.
You know,
I was thinking about that all the time.
This as an experience. Like, and I think this is also one of those times where it's like, are you kidding, Celine? Like, this young boy, like, on some cosmic level agreed to this for, you know, the growth of his soul. That's a very hard pill to swallow. And even for me to say that out loud, it's crazy.
It's hard.
And I think that's the challenging element of kind of being more woo-woo, right? Like,
Yeah.
because there isn't a strict boundary if, like, right and wrong, black and white, right? Like, you have your dark and you have your light. So I think the whole thing with Michael Jackson is completely fucked up, and he was an abuser and he was enabled.
Yep.
And it's hard to call him a good person. right?
Yep.
Like, you know,
Yep.
right? That's hard.
Yeah.
But what do we really know? What do we know about that soul and that agreement and what that means? And I mean, he did name his kid Blanket, so that's kind of a red flag too. But, you know, I think this whole thing is really hard. It's hard with abuse. It's hard with rape. It's hard with, you know, being shot or getting a terminal illness, and also being a survivor of abuse, or like your parent, like, you know, his kids now are like trying, like, have to defend him. But
Yeah.
like, you know, how do you rectify that?
Right. It's incredibly hard.
Yeah. And like, do you have to stop? You know, there's all this stuff like stop listening to his music.
Right. And I feel like you said it so well. It's like he is an example par excellence of exactly this.
Yeah.
Where it's like, can you
Pretty next level though.
go beyond right and wrong, and can you look at this? How do you digest this? How do you process
this in a way that makes you feel okay about it?
Yeah.
And respect, you know, the process of everybody who like suffered from his actions. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's more than just these two guys.
Yeah.
Probably a lot.
I'm pretty sure
You know.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the last thing I'll say about it is there's another documentary which I watched called In Plain Sight.
Can I stop you for 1 second?
Well, it's about abuser. It's the same thing.
Okay, go for
It's the
it.
same thing about a family friend who kind of grooms and gets involved with all of the family, has an affair with the mom and the dad, and then like
Oh my
basically
God.
abducts in plain sight their daughter, who's like 12 at the time, and then convinces her that they're like on an alien mission and she has to like procreate with him to save the mission,
Oh my God.
or like her family will die. And so it's a really interesting way like of grooming and how you just trust people, you know, like you trust someone has good intentions, and
Yep.
like not the case. Like there is dark and really shitty things happen. So anyway, it's interesting that both of these things are coming out at the same time. I don't know, you know, like all these ideas are coming up, all this bad is around, and then you have Queer Eye. So, light
Yeah.
in the dark. But what did you want to say before I interrupted?
No, I was just going to say, well, two things. One, I think one of the reasons this is coming up is because it's Kali.
Yeah.
And it's particularly, you know, I'd mentioned Google 2006, America, Michael Lutin, Lutin. America is experiencing its Pluto return. And Michael Jackson is basically as American as apple pie. And
Yeah.
he is infused into the absolute DNA of this culture. And so America is this is the reckoning. We have to face what we've truly been idolizing, supporting, desiring, and realize it's not that simple.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's a very, very clear example of Kali doing her work, and it's incredibly painful. But there's, like you said, light and dark. I think there's a lot of it sounds weird, but beauty in looking at these two men. Can you imagine the bravery of these two men? I'm actually getting emotional. Like, to have that kind of vulnerability, to literally broadcast
No.
the most abusive,
Horrible.
intimate experience of your life to just millions of people.
I know, just to say it.
This sounds weird, but I'm going to say phenomenal. It's like, I can't put a word on it. It's
Yeah.
so beyond.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very difficult and also very beautiful display of masculine, like masculinity.
Yeah.
Showing that, like, men can be strong by being vulnerable. And I feel like these two men are incredibly strong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully it will make someone, man or woman, who's gone through that in their life and see these two guys talking about it, feel strong enough to maybe say something, you know, to whomever to kind of get the help they need, you know? Like, I think that in times like this, when someone voices and says something vulnerable, like, it might give some, you know, random person who's struggling in, like, Idaho or somewhere really, you know, I don't know, and, like, see this and they're like, oh my gosh, like, they did this. Let me try to, like, I feel more confident to say what I need to say.
Yeah. It's the Me Too movement.
Yeah, I mean, me too. Yeah, you know, the Me Too movement is, for some reason, a lot of it I'm a little, like, meh about.
Oh.
Well, not meh in, like, the stories aren't legitimate and, like, a lot, you know, all these, like, you know, assaults and rapes and whatever of women. But I feel like the way that it's been presented in the media is a little just... I think I'm, like, jaded by it a little. Like, women going to the Oscars wearing black or whatever that was.
Right.
I'm sort of like, cool. That's nice.
Yeah.
But...
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like a lot of, like, frill for a movement that's actually based on action. Like, don't work with people. Don't dismantle the system.
Right.
Leave
Yeah.
Hollywood.
That's asking for a lot.
I know.
But you're
I know.
right. Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
a lot of what they're, you know. But I think that's just the way the media is.
100%. But also, again, I think it's all...
It's great. It's
Kali,
great.
Kali.
I know, but I love, it's like, just, I love destruction, to be honest.
Me
Jeremiah.
too.
I really love
Me too.
things burning down.
I do too, and I think a lot of people are... Oh, man, I don't want to go there.
Oh, my God.
This is...
You always get so stressed out.
This episode's been heavy. No, it's like, I'll say it, Donald Trump.
Yeah, but you know, like, it's...
Burn it down.
Yeah. It's a very, like, as above, so below.
And we're sick. This culture's sick.
Yeah.
And we're, like, puking.
But, like, in a cool way.
Yeah. The light's coming out.
Yeah.
Google an image of, you know, if people don't know, Kali is the goddess of death and rebirth. Just Google
She's so cool.
image.
I wanted
Kali.
to get a tattoo of her for a very long time.
I'm going to get a bracelet
Are you
of
really?
skulls. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, because I feel like everyone in their own way is experiencing their Kali kind of rebirth. You know, if it's not, like, literally directed at you, just the fucking Michael Jackson thing. Like, my foundation, I do...
Yeah, a lot of people are like, oh my God.
Like, a huge reason I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm making music, is because of that man, because of the music that he put out, and obviously all the fucking insane, amazing people, talented people who are around him.
Like
But,
Quincy Jones.
Quincy Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to meet Quincy Jones.
Well.
I met Greg Fillinganes, who was Michael Jackson's musical director, and he's a piano player and wrote some tracks too. And last year in LA, and I just, like...
Fangirled?
Not even. I was just like, I'm not a fangirl. I really am not.
Oof.
But I literally went to this panel he was on. I didn't even really care about the subject matter. I just was like, I need to meet this man and just, like, thank him personally. And I walked up to him and I, like, just shook his hand and I was like, I can't even tell you, like, the work that you have done, how nurturing it's been for who I am as an individual. And it was a really amazing moment. It was a really amazing moment. And it's fucking difficult, man. It's really difficult to be a Michael fan and to know how awful he was.
Yeah, well...
Evil.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, sometimes our idols are just kind of false idols.
And it's also... So, here's the part that's also really difficult is, like... And I'm not making an excuse at all, but, like, abusers tend to come from families that are abusive. and he was abused. So was R. Kelly. And I'm not saying that, absolves them of the shit that they've done. But it's like these are systemic issues.
Yeah.
These are systemic issues in our society that need to be fixed.
Well, yeah.
Ugh, this is so heavy. I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, listen. There are garbage people in the world, and they are enabled by whatever people are around them. And I just think, unfortunately, most people in the media who are men and who I've thought are good actors or musicians, like, typically tend to have a lot of shit in their closet.
There's so many people.
I know it's, like, tough, and it is a systemic problem, but, like, I guess I'm just, like, not really shocked by this stuff anymore.
Yeah, I think you're also... look, I'm a fucking white man.
Yeah, so as, like, a woman, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So we can definitely go deeper into that. Oh, so sorry, what were you going to say?
No, nothing.
Oh.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was
Okay.
like, the heavy stuff.
It's heavy.
Well, we knew this was going to happen. It's fine.
Yeah. One thing I was going to say, just to your point about, like, enabling people, and what I'm going to say is very much easier said than done, but I think part of the enabling is also not valuing yourself, like not feeling worthy, It's going back to this idea of boundaries, like knowing that you are worthy. Don't let other people step on you. Obviously, there's all sorts of... There's so many factors involved.
Yeah.
But that's a deep one.
Yeah, but I feel like enabling is more of a selfish thing than a worthiness thing. Like, a lot of powerful men get allowed to be monsters because people don't care about what's happening on, like, the emotional, moral level. They want you to keep making money.
Yes.
So, to me, that's what I mean by these enablers. Like,
right.
It's cool, whatever. Just
money's coming in,
yeah,
so just...
make the music, make the movie.
Yep.
Produce whatever.
Yep. Oh, man.
I know. I don't even know how to have a nice little grounding exercise at the end of this.
I mean, I think we already said it. Let's do one. Let's do this. Let's just invite everyone to kind of, like, sit up.
Okay.
And I know we just, like, said a lot. Hopefully it was helpful for you, helped you, like, process some things, made you think about some things. Maybe you can look up references that help you. But, yeah, I would just take an opportunity to, when shit gets hard, breathe.
Yeah, it's kind of the fundamental.
We're going to breathe and we're going to say, I'm worthy.
Okay. Okay.
I am worthy.
I am worthy.
And just release all that bullshit. All the bullshit. Just release all that fucking bullshit. And as you breathe in that worthiness, because you are worthy. I am worthy.
Yeah.
And just see how you feel doing that. And let us know.
Email us.
Email us. Should we give them our email?
Or just text
DM us. DM us on Instagram.
Yeah, tell us about it.
As woo as you want. And I'm going to personally sign off by saying, you are worthy.
Yeah. Or also, I'm just going to say, like, stop overthinking stuff and trust yourself more. You're on the right path.
You're on the right path.
Yeah.
And you are so, so worthy. And we love you. And watch Queer Eye.
Yes.
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 We'll end on that note.
Okay, bye.
Bye.